Alyshia and this is Nancy. We're here in the Davison kitchens and we're going to show you how to make whoopie pies today. So in this bowl we have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of Dutch processed cocoa powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. And all we're going to do is we're going to go and whisk that together and just break up any lumps of cocoa powder and get it all incorporated together. So in a large mixing bowl, we're going to grab 1 cup of brown sugar tightly packed and a stick of softened butter. And you want it to be room temperature, so maybe take it out the night before and let it sit on your counter. You want it to be nice and warm to mix. And I'm just going to smash it up with my hands. Normally you would do this in a mixer, but we figured that not everyone might have a mixer right now, so we're going to show you how to do it also by hand. I'm going to grab a rubber spatula. You can use a wooden spoon or whatever you have at home. And I'm just going to mash it and we're trying to cream it. So next we're going to take 1 egg and we're going to crack it into our butter and brown sugar. And then we're going to mix that in really well. So once our butter, sugar, and eggs are creamed, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and we're just going to mix that in until combined. So the next step is we're going to take our dry ingredients and we're going to take 1/3 of it and we're going to add it in to our egg and our sugar and our butter. We're going to mix that in with our spatula until it's fully incorporated. This will probably take a couple seconds. Most of the flour has been incorporated. You don't want it all incorporated because you don't want to over mix it. So we have 1 cup of buttermilk and we're going to add half of it. So half a cup of this buttermilk is going to go in here. So if you can't find buttermilk or you don't want to buy buttermilk for only a cup, if you take a cup of milk and you add 1 tablespoon of either lemon juice or vinegar and let it sit for 10 minutes, you make homemade buttermilk. So the next step is we're going to add another 1/3 of our flour into our mixture. And we want to leave about 1/3 behind. And we're going to mix this together again. And you always want to make sure as you're mixing that you're scraping really well. If you're doing this in the mixer, after each addition, you really want to scrape down your scribes, scrape down the bottom to make sure that you don't have any chunks of butter or anything on the bottom. This is basically where you're at. You want it to be pretty much mixed in like the first time. And now we are going to move on to the last addition of the buttermilk. That is our full cup of buttermilk in there, and we're just going to mix it again until combined. We're going to take the last of our flour, we're going to add it in, and we're going to finish mixing our batter. And now we're going to move on to scooping. So the recipe says to use 1/3 of a cup to scoop. If you have like a cookie scoop at home, feel free to use that. So we're going to scoop the batter. Make sure it's nice and flat and level. And then using a spoon to get all the batter out of the cup. So we're going to put about 6 to a sheet pan, and you're going to look to do about 3 inches or so apart. You don't want them too close together. So once we're finished scooping, you're going to look to have 2 sheet pans with 6 whoopie pies each on them. This will give us a total of 6 whoopie pies once we fill them. So we're going in a 350-degree oven and we're going to cook them for about 15 to 18 minutes. Next we're going to start our filling. You can do this in a mixer, you can do it with a pair of hand beaters, or you can do it by hand. I chose to do it in the mixer just because it's easier and it's faster and it's cleaner. We're going to grab our butter. So we have 12 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to put that in our pan. And this again, you want to make sure it's nice and soft, but not melted. And 1 1/4 cups of confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. So always start your mixer on 1 so that you don't send your powdered sugar flying everywhere. We're just gonna let this mix on 1 for a little bit until most of the sugar is incorporated. And then we'll turn it up to 2 to beat it really well and get lots of fluffy out of our frosting. Then you're gonna add your vanilla, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Then you wanna scrape down all your edges and you add your 2.5 cups of fluff. And you're just gonna mix that for about 2 minutes until it's completely combined, and make sure you scrape it down so that you don't have any chunks of butter in the bottom. All right, so when we're ready, this is what it looks like. Looks nice and fluffy. We're gonna put this in the fridge for a half hour and just let it set. Pick our whoopie pies, and what we're looking for to tell when they're done is you're gonna touch them and you want them to kind of spring back, and you want them to feel nice and firm. And if you think it passes all those tests, you can pick it up and check the bottom, and the bottom feels nice and set up and springy. So we are good to take these out of the oven. All right, so once your whoopie pies have cooled off and your frosting is set up, we are ready to start assembling our whoopie pies. Scoop our frosting, place it right in the middle of our whoopie pie. Take one of the tops and just give it a light smush, kind of jiggle it. And that's it, that's our whoopie pie.